I'm Bob Lieberman. I'm a BBI Building Bridges Initiative consultant, and I've been the chair of the Outcomes Work Group of Building Bridges since Building Bridges started, actually. And I'm really pleased today to be introducing Jennifer Outlaw. Jennifer is the Executive Vice President of Child, Family, and Community Services at the SCO Family of Services in Glen Cove, New York. Jennifer, thanks for joining me here today.
Thanks for having me.
So we're going to be talking just for a few minutes about the Building Bridges Initiative Self-Assessment Tool. This is a tool we developed initially several years ago. And Jennifer has been using this, SCO has been using this in your program for a little while now. So the question I have is, now that you've used the Building Bridges Initiative Self-Assessment Tool for your residential programs, what advice do you have for other programs that may be considering doing the same?
Yeah, sure. Great question. So I would suggest to anyone who is interested in using the survey assessment tool to really take the time to look at the entire tool. What is helpful is identifying which areas that your organization is interested in looking at. And that's what we did at SCO. We actually decided that we wanted to use the family and youth-driven areas of the tool because those were the areas that we were really most interested in focusing on. The second thing I would say is also to get clear why you're using the tool. I think it's really important to really establish what your why, your how, and your what is. Because the why is going to really help you to carry the message to both families and also employees as to, why you have them taking 10 minutes, 20 minutes out to actually do the survey, and then really figuring out what the logistics are ahead of time. How are you going to gather the information? How are you going to make sure that there's a feedback loop? And then really getting clear about what it is that you seek to, gain knowledge about after the survey has been completed. And then I would say the last thing is really having a curious mind, because often when we do surveys, we often only want to see that we're doing something well or the strengths. And I think that there's an opportunity that's missed when we're not curious about really looking at also the outcomes and areas of weakness or areas of improvement or the gaps. And I think that if you come to the table with a curious mind, like you're going to be really curious about the results, it helps you to reduce a lot of the judgment that you might have about who filled out the survey or what their comments are. And it really will help you to really take an objective look at the outcomes.
That's just so important to enter into the process with an open mind. We found that with many agencies that have used it. So I think that comment is so critical, along with why we want to do this. What do we want to improve? What evidence do we have that we may need to improve a little bit, which could help with the curious mind. Just want the folks watching to know that there's an instructional guide that comes along with the self-assessment tool, and it really helps sort out some of the really important questions in advance that Jennifer's identifying. And so be sure, if you're using the tool, to be asking for that instructional guide. It's also on the website. What I'm curious about, Jennifer, is if you had any specific strategies or steps that you took to make sure that you were getting like various categories of staff, like line staff and managers, involved in rating, and also, really most importantly, family members and youth. Did you have an opportunity to have family members fill out the survey and give you their feedback as well?
Yes. So we decided that there were two really cohorts that we wanted to use the survey with. So one is that we decided, let's try to use it with our executive council. And the rationale for that was because we wanted to see if members of our executive council were even in alignment or agreement with what family or youth-driven work is. And so, and what those services look like. So that was one of the populations that we decided to look at. Then we also decided, because we were doing a pilot project with Building Bridges, to look at our mother-child program. And we thought that that would be a very interesting area to get some results back from, because we looked at moms who actually have children. So these are young teenagers that have children that are in our residential programs. And then we also asked their families to fill out the survey as well. And the rationale for us doing that is because we wanted to see if there was any difference between what the young people and the residents that actually had children were going to say about youth-driven work, family-driven work, and are they even included at the table? And then we wanted to see what their parents said, what their family members said, because it's really interesting that you have a group of young women who have their own children, and then they're also trying to work on either repairing the relationships with their birth parents or looking at how strengthening permanency. So we really wanted to kind of see what that would look like. And it was interesting to hear from the young ladies what they believe in terms of how we're doing.